Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Halal Finance Hub. We're taught in our lives as Muslims that we must avoid riba. But what happens when riba feels inescapable? It's in our credit cards, our home loans, we even feel it in our jobs, right? So today we're not talking about the rules, we're talking about that deep anxiety, that confusion, that fear that it creates in our lives. We're going to face that monster head on with someone who's dedicated his life to this issue, the founder of Muslim Money Matters, Almir Colan. Jazakallah khair for joining us.
Yakum, thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah, no, it's honestly like the space is amazing. I think that one of the reasons, the biggest reason that we've started the Halal Finance Hub is education, right? Like I Menzel Alhamdulillah has been around for a little while now, and the products have been building and the brand has been getting some recognition, but even still it's that education piece. Like, what is money in Islam? Like, what does it really mean? All the different parts to it. And so we took this other route that once people are educated, once people learn more, once people can make that connection, then they'll actually look for the products. And inshallah, the product that they'll find is Manzil, etc., etc. But you've been in this for a while. Like, tell us more about what you do and like that whole world, why you started it, etc.
Well, I have been learning about it even in my local community. And then once you start like a thread and things get more interesting, you ask yourself, well, why and what is the reason? Is there something I'm missing here? Why this seemingly simple transaction, for example, like riba, money for money? Why such a big fuss about it?
Yeah.
And often when I go, just the other night, I had a talk, and a couple of students came around, very intelligent. They picked up on a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
And main struggle is like, but why? Like, what is happening here? From many different aspects, and it's that sort of grappling with something that's been so normalized in society to seek the wisdom out. So I've been searching for that wisdom, and I started with a perspective that if something is prohibited to such a degree, such a stern prohibition, then if we do not intuitively see it or recognize it, there must be something that is wrong with our perhaps imagination or insight into that world, the consequences of it. And so that drove me to a little bit start investigating, learning, and then from there, that journey goes all different directions.
Yeah. So what is the answer to but why?
Well, the answer to why can be given in a simple way that we have let's say, you could say there is something that is the path that God wants us to walk, walking together, walking with humanity, where we connect to Him through this experience on this earth. And there is everything else that opposes this path. There's a different path that leads to a different place. And so on this path, you sow different seeds, So even if you see, for example, when we're talking about giving a loan in Islam, which is a component of charity, Allah is asking, who will give good loan like to Allah? Meaning, when you give somebody a loan, Allah is the one who multiplies rewards for you. He is the one who gives you the profit. And so after talking about zakat and charity, Allah talks about then riba, And in a sense, he talks about people who engage in this transaction, that on the day of judgment, they will be like a person who is being touched by Shaytan, resurrected in a state of insanity, in a state of madness. So what that means, then, the verse tells us that they are like touched by Shaitan, meaning that this is a transaction that you have come in contact with Shaitan, who then corrupts your spirituality, and your entire soul gets corrupted through this process, And through the, as you mentioned, there is a confusion part, but there is also insanity part.
Yeah.
That through that touch, through that component of working in a sin, cooperating with him in the sin, you reap what you sow, which is not just sin, but you partner with him. Just like the one who gives the good loan, he partners in a goodness, that he is giving loan to Allah.
Yeah.
And so Allah is the one who is providing. Here, who is providing is your other partner that you connected yourself with.
Yeah.
So these two paths leads to two different places, basically.
Yeah.
And then from there, you can then start to extrapolate how and whys and bits and pieces and nuances.
So, I mean, like, you've been doing this for 20 years at this point, right? Like Islamic finance and economics. You've seen a lot. You've seen a lot. So, in your work, right, especially with Muslim money matters, but I guess like a lot of students also come to you. A lot of people also come to you in general. What's that number one fear or that anxiety that people approach you with regarding riba? Like, you're telling me about this partnership that with Shaytan versus Allah. That's fair. Like, I think that you see it because of all the time that you've spent in it. But when someone comes to you, do you see it? Like, how do they say it? You know, like, what does it actually look like?
People usually they have some sense that something is not right. So they usually would experience something in their life. It could be they experience success and they are now suddenly very high level executive in the bank and they're thinking, I don't have all of these worries, but somehow still I'm not content with everything is somehow, there isn't, I don't feel it like what I thought. And they are at the top of their game, right? Then they start re-examining that. So it could be a success that drives them. It could be also a major failure. Just business goes wrong, things devastates. It could be a shocking incident that happens to them. I remember I had a friend of mine whose heart stopped beating. There is some signal. I'm not a cardiologist, but there is some kind of a signal that moves, and then your hearts work. And then if something happens, and that signal, like electric shock, if it doesn't start working, you die basically. So something didn't send that signal, so his heart basically stopped. So they had to put the wires, just like I have this microphone
Yeah.
with the battery pack at the bottom, And this is exactly the same thing.
Crazy.
So he had the battery backpack here in somewhere in the body implanted with the same wire, like microphone in the heart, whatever that is.
Yeah, to keep it going.
And the idea was that this battery pack would kick in, send a shock to the heart if the heart stops. And so he then started re-evaluating everything, the worries, the stress, the work, the career, the ambitions, the decisions that he has made.
Yeah.
And all because he became more conscious that my heart could stop any minute and I'm now depending on this wire.
Yeah.
But the reality is that's all of us. We are hanging by the thread, wire or no wire. It's the same thing. It's just he was working so busy with life, with things and succeeding, or that he did not pay attention. And so when people start eventually paying attention, be it from the positive or negative experience, then they start realizing, hang on a minute, what am I doing? Where am I going? And this is when they start sort of re-examining, how did I get there? And to be fair, most of the people in general, we are not taught that this is something that is destroying sin, that this is a very serious consequence, that Allah calls war against him and his prophet, and that it is something that is very, very severe, and not just from the like what you would call it, like as people say, religious perspective, but in general, these bankers, when you look throughout the history, money lenders, they were always hated. They were the most hated group of people, always throughout the history. And so you go to the ancient times, even Shakespeare wrote against these money lenders in his book Merchant of Venice, to the modern crisis. You have Occupy Wall Street. It's not for no reason that this is particular group. You have I don't know, maybe politicians or some others, but the banker have a special place in the hearts of people.
That's a good point.
So this makes people think about, hang on, I mean, if I'm doing such a great thing, why don't farmers have such a place, or other teachers or something like that?
Yeah.
As a group, I mean, as a group. So there is something fundamentally wrong here, that we have pitted one group of people against everybody else,
Yeah.
and the people are simply feeling that.
Honestly, there's probably some stat that like the call from the bank is probably the most ignored call. Well, the
Hmm.
bank's calling me. Oh no, decline.
Hmm.
Probably because people hate. I think people hate talking to them. On one side, it's like the sales aspect of banking, and then the other side, it's like, "Where's my money?" No one wants either or question. So, I definitely agree with that. I think like you know, it's so interesting that I don't know what you follow, what kind of content you follow and whatnot, but there's a lot of content now where people who are money experts and whatnot, um they release content with headings or some hook that says something like, oh, we make $1 million but we're still X amount in debt, or we you know we thought we were going to do XYZ, but turns out my partner has uh, a bad spending habit, etc. And I read those headlines and I'm like, man, you just lack barakah. You lack a ton of barakah in your life, type thing. What about what do you see, right? Like, what do you see in people's life? Obviously there's the Islamic side of what's allowed, what isn't allowed, but what's like the deeper psychological impact that you've seen on people's iman, on their peace of mind? Because a lot of people, especially in the Western world, right? Like, it's just like, you should be saving like this, you should be investing like this. That's why you're in debt.
Hmm.
Or, you
Hmm.
know, you made XYZ business decision. But we believe that, there's so much more to it, right? So what is that effect on people?
There is a compounding here of a lot of issues that collide together. Riba is one of those components that adds to the flood of all of these bits and pieces, that they start moving together.
Okay.
So, if you think about it at the most basic level, when you are giving that loan to somebody who traditionally needed money,
Hmm.
and so on a very basic level, somebody needs money for basic things, and the instinct of a banker is, I'm going to profit from that. Like, think about that for a moment. I need to buy food, and then there is a difference between, I'm selling you the food, and that's a business, you would understand why
Yeah, yeah,
bakery,
yeah.
for example, sell bread for profit. But then you have a person who is not doing anything. They insert themselves into this misery or the problem that person might have, and they are simply like a parasite leeching of that. Now, that person who is providing zero benefit to the people, who is looking at the opportunity now to benefit from somebody's disaster, is trying to profit from that. Now, in that circumstances, what immediately will happen, because now we have the side that this banker is taking, is the side which all of those blessings, everything will be removed. You're partnering, you're entering into transactions that will be immediately from the get-go the source of other problems that are going to start to unraveling. And those problems are that we are now on the route to start creating a system that, in the core, from the most basic cell, and sometimes you have a body, and the cells, you can't see them. Like, I can't see the cell, where is the cell? But this is what makes everything, and then you see, okay, this is the person. Now, from the DNA, from that basic cell, we have already pitted one against the another, and we have picked the sides. So we are now targeting this need, this human basic needs in society,
Hmm.
and we said it is okay to commercialize on that. What it means is to put incentives on this, meaning that the growth of this need, growth of the problems is good for business. So we have now set up not only the mechanism of exploitation and injustice, but we have monetized it.
Yeah.
Now, once you start doing that, you start building more things from consumerism culture and scarcity mentality to the solution is in this sin, which goes back to another issue, which is that this is exactly how we end up in this earth. Because our great-grandfather, Adam alayhi salam, was promised, if you take this, then all of your dreams and everything will be fulfilled. Now, we have done it, but nothing happened. We did not get those promises. In fact, it led us to connect ourselves to this situation where we are always chasing something that is outside of our reach, and always is the same thing, that in the disobedience we will find it fulfillment. So where does that lead then? So that lead bit by bit to developing entire system then that looks something like this. Look at what's happening, and this is a great illustration of where we are now. Look at America. Look at the richest town in America, the New York City. Like, there are only few capitals, money capitals in the world. Usually people will say London, Hong Kong, and London, Hong Kong, New York. They might add few more, but these are the main time zones and
Yeah.
spaces in the world where the money is historically moving. Now, New York is home of New York Stock Exchange, Wall Street, Trump Tower, billionaires, millionaires, all of the excesses. Yet in that same city, in a race for the mayor race, for the primaries, for Democrat primaries, Zohran Mandani wins by promising people cheaper groceries. In fact, he promised them extreme version of that which is government guaranteed, government run places that sell groceries. So think about now where we are at. We have the capital world, the capital of the world, and there are the people in that place that cannot afford the groceries. We have people now who, when the global financial crisis happened, they were out on the street with the placards, talking about Occupy Wall Street, 1%. And even now you see, it's not strange to see people who are now supporting these bankers. These are the politicians, these are the people, whatever, regulators, who are now, as you can see, a recent example of the CEO of a healthcare company being shot
Mm-hmm.
in the head because people are sick of these companies. And Riba is in this healthcare, Riba is in the banks, Riba is in the financial architecture.
Yeah.
And so it led us to this moment where now we are resolving our problems by
Yeah.
shooting, killing each other, extreme poverty, extreme wealth, and tensions had never been more.
Hmm. So I think those are some great points, right? Like I think putting it in that way where it isn't just like, we woke up one day and Riba was taking over our lives, right? Like that's not what happened. Like you said, like it started somewhere and then, you know, built on it, 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 built on it. Now, if, with that being true, right? What about the people that just say like now it's just the cost of doing business, right? Like
Mm.
it's just the cost of doing business. Like how else are we supposed to make money? For example, like even an honest businessman, for them to buy inventory or for them to lease a space, right? Like it's impossible. Like what are you supposed to do? Right? Is your response to that person just do nothing? Like Like, what do we say to someone like that?
So often people are now in a situation where they, when they look at this, they are mainly now thinking just how do I save myself? And they're thinking usually with these questions very short term. I
Yeah,
have
like
a
in this world.
crisis. Not just that, not just that. Even the very, very short term, like in this moment, I have a problem. I need inventory.
Yeah,
Okay. So what is one of the ways that they solve inventory problem, for example,
buy it on credit.
is yeah. So think, okay, let's say buy on credit. There are more solutions to that, but let's say they buy on credit. So already you are in a problem as a business owner. Let's say you run a fruit shop. You sell veggies, fruit and veggies. So now already, as is, you are working on the tight margins. Your margins are a couple of percent, 3, 4, 5% business margins. Okay. Most of supermarkets works on 5% margin, 3% margins. Very efficient one works on that. This is their profit. So now already as is, and there is a reason why that is already, and how the synthetic financing disincentivize the real production of real goods and services. That's a separate story. But already as is, you cannot survive that. That means you are hard surviving that. Okay? So now, on that hard survival, you are introducing a banker who will buy you these goods and services, give you some credit. And oftentimes what they do, they have this factorization, which is they buy your invoices. You sell your fruit to the store, but they can't pay you. So they say, we'll give you 90% the price of the invoice, we'll take 100.
Yeah.
You understand? So you sell your invoices. They call them factoring. So they're discounting your invoices. So now you sell these $100 goods to the shop from your shop, and rather than getting full 100, you are now getting 90.
Yeah.
The bank is getting 10, because bank is now sucking from that, right? So now already you are in trouble as is. Now you have a banker that you need to feed on top of that, who is not doing anything. He's not really doing anything. He's not going to share in any risk. He's just there because you have a collateral. If you fail, he has somebody else who he can sell, and then they can take over and so on. And so these bankers, they don't come when you are just starting. You see, most of the startups, when you talk about startups and how we would survive, well, most of them are not financed through Riba anyway. They are financed through equity. People invest in these companies and they
Take
share
on
in the
risk.
risk and reward. That's
Yeah.
right. And so that's why you'll have like Sequoia and these funds in Wall Street, not Wall Street, but Silicon Valley, who knows I invest in 20 companies, maybe 15 fail.
And you're saying
3
that's the
might
way to
be.
do it. Like that's the
Well,
system that we should be
even
building.
today, that is the system. Nobody goes to startup with a loan. Loans and debt and riba comes when they are established, when they have a buildings, when they have a CEOs with huge salaries, and then they attach themselves to that, to suck from that already something that is established. You understand?
Okay.
And then they start playing with these things. So, for example, if you look at the financial crisis, it comes to the organizations when they can profit from being very reckless. So how then go to individuals? You have a banks who can then give loans. They don't care, can you afford them? This is what happened in US subprime market crash. Why? Because we can insure these loans. We can sell them for somebody else. Nobody is responsible. And so what happens to the people in this moment? Like even now, back then, people take brunt of the destruction. Even now, the way we say we will now manage our economy, we call it monetary policies. So they say, okay, how do we manage monetary policies and inflation? By increasing interest rates. So you have a teacher who got married, or you get a young couple, they got this mortgage. Somebody, banker comes and say, you're already paying 30% from your salary to the mortgage. I need another 10%. Because we call this monetary policy. Take from the teacher and give it to the banker so that inflation is solved. And then you ask, why is there anxiety? Because somebody pressed the button and now take more from my salary.
Yeah.
You see, I bought this bottle of water for $1. Imagine in 2 years the company come and say, the dollar you paid, I need another dollar. Why? I already bought it. Yeah, well, we need to solve some other inflation
Some other
problems.
problem. So what is that? What is your practical advice to business owners or even the average consumer on taking steps to break out of like this feeling of helplessness? Like how can they not be what it seems dependent on it because of the systems that are in place? Like what is that first step or first three steps that they can take?
So, well, 3 steps or how many steps, but certainly the solution cannot be worse than a problem. So at the moment, what we are doing, we are actually destroying small businesses and everything. Look at our reality in the big cities. Most of your money or most of your solutions, most of your product come from ever-growing businesses. They are massive businesses. And when you have these massive corporations that are supplying you with everything yourself, you're getting lost in that. So first of all, we are losing the middle, small to medium businesses. We are losing family businesses. We are losing entrepreneurs. There is a concentration of power, of production in a very few hands. Be it in capitalism, it's under these corporations that are very much in sync with government, and in some other countries could be under government control or something like that. But we are breaking down civil society, where they are just the cogs, replaceable, dehumanized, just plug in this and that, just, make a job simple, like flip the burger or Amazon, put the basket up and down, and we can easily train them. And maybe Elon Musk give a robot so we don't need to worry about people. So total destruction of the societal cooperation, total destruction of incentives that people work, contribute, and create something. So with the concentration of power and everything through these synthetic ways, we are introducing something that at the end will take you out of the business. So that's why I said in the short term, you will run your business, but over the time, more and more stronger and bigger will concentrate together, and the bigger bank, bigger businesses, they squash. So there's no more small farmers, there's no more small bakeries, no more small anything, everything is massive. Even yesterday I was in a supermarket and I bought a bag of potato and I opened it all rotten. Okay, so I went to replace it. They don't care. They said, just chuck it there, take another one or something. I said, but this is rotten. I opened 3 bags. It's all rotten. When I come from break, I will think about it. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. And I'm thinking, like, is there somebody I can complain? She says, the girl who was serving, she said that was the manager. Because they work, they're busy. You just came, you are one customer. What does that move the needle on the bottom line? Nothing. You are just, right as the Google review. So this contributes then to what we are talking about, society that is disconnected. And this is through this anxiety and other distraction come, which is why after these financial crises, you see increase in these anxieties and mental sicknesses and things like that. And so even if you look now, causes of divorce, causes of the stress, it's a financial dispute, financial problems, even in the marriage or anything else. And so what the businesses can do is, well,
even the
ideally
individuals
business.
even the individuals like what can we all do, sort of what can that first step be?
Well, we are, of course, now you need to keep a track with me on that. We pick up the threads because we start a couple of threads. So there's one on business now, individuals, as we are going rapidly. But look at after the COVID, some of the biggest growth were the companies that provide debt, buy now, pay later. And so young people didn't know about credit cards. Then now they are in 10 different buy now, pay later companies. And these companies are exploding. People, the other day, my daughter was texting me. She was shocked. I think, if I remember correctly, there's somebody, and now I don't remember what product, everyday product somebody purchased with the afterpay. I can't now remember, was it in a restaurant they order a food, coffee, or some other item in the grocery or somewhere, And she was shocked. She says, look, this is what's happening. People are ordering now daily basic needs, necessities with these afterpays and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So now we have a debt that is growing publicly, that people, then we have a commercial. Like now, try to invest in any business on stock exchange that has a less than 30% interest
Yeah.
bearing. Like 30, I was talking with some of the financial planners, they say,
Wow.
if we look for businesses, it's hard to find company that has less than 30% of interest. So the whole value of the company is $10 billion. They already have $3 billion in debt, which is sucking the money.
Yeah.
So from the people, explosion of debt. To the corporation, explosion of the debt. To the government now. So US government, they say now is reaching almost 40 trillion in debt. And the trillion every year is spent on servicing the debt. And so this has enormous problems around the world because the way we're spending this money recklessly, the way it is not attached to anything, the governance of it, the waste of it, the incentives to pump it more, push it more because somebody benefit and you cannot have oversight because you don't know where it's going. When you attach your profitability to the real assets, real things that have to give a fruit, then you think twice. There is a natural mechanism to be a steward, honest steward of this money.
Yeah.
And so this is where I think in a business, you have a real challenge. How do you finance business and how do you have a operating cash flow, buy your inventory, buy these kinds of things. Of course, in Islamic finance, there are some mechanisms that people sometimes can access to help them, at least to some degree, can alleviate some of these problems that are alternative to some of these loans and so on. So there are some ways, and also there is that idea of working together, cooperating, joining your money also to work together for this. So between this working on the individual business to working on the system, to working with the policies, to working with society level, this is multi-layered
Approach.
it needs multi-layered approach to
Yeah.
solve what is also multi-layered problem.
Yeah. Fair point. I think you know, let's talk about, the journey that you've been on with Muslim Money Matters and your efforts that have been in that space. Clearly, you're very passionate about it. Clearly, you love all parts of it and really want to get to that core. How do you feel like your efforts in Islamic finance led you to be closer to Islam? And the concept of barakah, right? Do you feel more barakah in your journey, in your life? What's that been like?
Sometimes when you're a young person, you kind of know, when I'm talking about myself, you kind of know I'm at the crossroads in life. Always, every day you choose. I go left, I go right. I do this, I do that. Watch TV or do assignment, study. Get married or pursue this or do this job or that job and so on. So every day, this friend or that friend. Stay late, watch a movie or do this. Every day you are having, and obviously there are big decisions, there are small decisions, there's who you are with. And now you think usually when you make dua, like you say, oh Allah, give me what's best for me. But let it be this, kind of like, I trust you, whatever it is good for me, but I like this. So you always hedge your dua, there is always, but there, but yeah, but I
Making
reckon
a
this is
deal.
the best way, if I may say so, this is the kind of, and so you kind of are putting trust in Allah, but in reality, it's that trust is not really there. You do not really understand or fully believe that. You do not believe that. So the conviction and understanding, you are saying it more from the intellectual perspective that Allah is the one who knows all of the names, and you understand it intellectually. But your heart desires something up to the point where you would rather override that. You would like that your choice happens to be what's best for you, you know?
Mm.
And so if that doesn't go your way, then you are like kind of, you know, if this happened or I wish something.
Yeah.
It takes a long time
Yeah.
until you start seeing the consequence. 1, 2, 3, 4. This, that, you know, and it takes a lifetime that you start realizing that, you know, this person has everything, but they are unhappy.
Mm.
You know, all of what I wanted in terms of this career, that career, this and status, and
Yeah.
they don't have it. They don't have it. They call you on the phone and they are like very, very, none of that works for them.
Yeah. There's no peace.
And I'll give you a very simple example. Like imagine yesterday I wanted to watch the news on YouTube, so I put it on the TV and I'm going down the list that recommended, YouTube recommends. And I'm looking, okay, what's the news like? And I'm reading the thumbnails. One of these shows and the Italian villa, Italian, some beautiful house. So I say, okay, let me see what is this one. So they show, okay, this is in US. They made this Italian reconstruction. They brought these beautiful stones and efforts and details that they are going through this place. It's something like from the even the light, how it hits. It's not just the glass. It's some ceramic so thin that only let 15% of the rays go through. And so if you read in the book under it, it's not too harsh for you.
Yeah.
And then just the entry is like huge room of marble and things like that. And I was looking at it, I said, Subhanallah, look at, you know, like it goes from the room and then the swimming pool and more of these beautiful things, beautiful. And I'm thinking, in all of these, then they say at the back of the house, there is like some of these rooms. And so we come to this like a little room where like you would want to sit. And I'm thinking, like, you build all of these, right? And then where do you want to be? You imagine living there and you would just be always in that room or another room, or like you wouldn't use most of these, then you have to. And so I started thinking how human is interesting.
Yeah.
Imagine person lives, and this is how I now, just giving you example when you ask me a question, how I see it now. And I just want to give some example that might be, it's hard for me to say, okay, well, I had experience, now I see things differently, and therefore, no, but that wouldn't benefit somebody who is younger, didn't have experience. So this is example to sort of start thinking yourself.
Yeah.
So now let's say you have a vision, you are in 20s or 30s, whatever, and you have a vision, I want to get married, I have a nice job, car, beautiful house like this French villa or Italian villa, whatever. Okay. Now imagine you have all of that and you are living in that house. But let's say this is just a game, you know, you are given that, but there is constantly some annoying smell.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere you go, kitchen, room, just a stinky smell. Like yesterday when I opened the car booth, when I bought the potatoes, I was like, I didn't realize it was from this potato. I was like, wow, what is going on? Now, imagine a most annoying smell constantly. Like, how much would you be able to enjoy all of that? Or imagine there is a sound constantly
Yeah.
that going, like, you know, somebody
Just
with nails scratching something.
yeah.
Like, you know, and you have all of these things, but just that sound is constantly there that you
Yeah.
can't get rid of it,
Yeah.
right? Now imagine it's a spiritual discomfort or
Mm.
psychological or a mental or a worries or
Yeah.
something that you can't sleep or or you have a pain somewhere or you are unhappy with, there is something else happening.
Yeah.
You understand? I remember some years ago I was one of the things, sometimes I watch these trials on TV. I am very much interested in law. So when the Supreme Court, for example, debate some issue, I sometimes listen on audio, or when there is a big case. So I may follow a few cases to see like the law and the people. Sometimes it reveals you about the people, about issue, you know. So I was watching this, like there was a channel, they call it, I forgot, they call it Law Tube, Legal Tube, some kind of a channels where they summarize these court cases. So I was watching the summary of this court case, Amber Heard with Johnny Depp.
Hmm.
And Johnny was the guy who made, if
Pirates of
I'm
the
not
Caribbean.
mistaken, yes, like hundreds of millions of
Yeah, yeah,
dollars.
yeah.
And he had 6, 7 houses, if I remember correctly. So everywhere he would go, he would have a house which has another 10 rooms and God knows what else. Okay. And in one of these occasions, he was talking how he's narrating how he and his wife, then wife, were having argument where basically she threw a bottle of alcohol, vodka or something, and it hit him in the finger, cut his finger, and then he used the finger, started drawing on the paintings, and then he ran away from. So basically, the house had about 8 bathrooms. So he was hiding from bathroom to bathroom from her, right? And then she, on the other hand, recorded him constantly drunk, constantly drugged. And in one moment, she provided recording of him in the private jet plane
Yeah.
where he got in this position like a newborn on the ground. He curled and he was squeaking like a hurt dog when it's hit by a car, for example,
Oh, okay.
in pain. He was down in pain and vomiting, and I'm looking at him and I said, I think maybe my son or daughter, I don't know. I said, look at these people. Like, you look at them, you think that's it. That is the thing. You have fame, wealth, power, influence, anything you want. This is it. If
Yeah.
you want what is the definition of success, they can go everywhere. They can be prime minister of any country. They can go to any country. They can do everything is open. Police stop them, they will say, oh, thank you very much. Can we take a selfie? They're not going to be in trouble. Yet these people with all of these things, when they were planning birthday party, one of the item was to take drugs. Like you normally have balloons, I don't know, birthday cake, whatever these people have. And then at 1 o'clock was drugs, basically, in the itinerary. Because now they have these things, but there is something here, they need to get out of that. Just
Mm.
like I said, I need to get out of that smell. I need to get out of that noise. I need to get out of that annoyance.
Yeah.
But if it is inside of you that you've been promised that these things will work, but they don't work, where do you go? And so what I realized, you asked me what I realized, is that to really be content, to really have a bigger picture, more strategic view of the world, you really need to have a different way of observing this.
Yeah.
That you truly embraced what we are told, that this world is not even the worth of the wing of the mosquito.
Mm.
Truly you believe that. Having or not having, it's not that. So to the point of detachment of any emotional feeling, any slavery with which other will manipulate you,
Yeah.
to the point of you are thinking the consciousness of God only, my actions, my being, my mission. And then everything that you're doing, if that wealth comes, if it doesn't come, but I'm serving the purpose, I have a mission, and so on,
Yeah.
you know? And I see behind you, maybe is that basketball or some sport? I don't know what it
Yeah.
is, right?
I have a lot of
Like something
basketball.
like that, right? Right?
Yeah.
So think about that. If the person is playing basketball and he's thinking about money and the houses and things, when I watched that Michael Jordan documentary, he was extremist on the court. All he was thinking is
Yeah.
the game, the shots, the thing. And that's how Muslims should be on the life, on the bigger picture, this and next life, thinking what's really important at the end of the day. So if Muslims were to think like that, connect themselves with God and everything in the service of God, it become not anymore, do I have money or not? Yeah, money, I have it, but I use it. So that's why you'll see that Muslim is a generous, Muslim is building, Muslim is contributing, Muslim is somebody who, when other people see, they consider him a blessing. Whether he's contributing through the knowledge, action, whether he is contributing through the money, like Abu Bakr. In the morning, he would clean the house of the old widow, old woman. And in the day, he would lead the armies. So, and he was also wealthy, happened to be wealthy because he had the expenses taking care of other people, not for the sake of the wealth. This is the core issue.
Yeah.
Our narrow view that I'm getting this money so I can be this, I can be that, show the
Yeah.
sickness. And through this, you will be exploited. Because this fear, they will play on this fear.
Yeah.
That's why today, even the richest people on the planet, look at Elon Musk, he has to obey. Masters. No matter, don't worry, Tesla, Twitter. When your master money tells you do this, you bow down.
Yeah.
Because in your heart, this is you're scared of it. And this is why you see you become a slave. So truly, this for me was something that I'm just still grappling and learning to appreciate, that there are dimensions in life, there are things in life, and I'm trying to seek that wisdom of why we are here, what's the purpose of these things, to walk the path, seeking the wisdom of that we are supposed to have as a Muslim, and not to be like, I'm not propagating, let's be like Dalai Lama, like monks,
Yeah.
and just abandon the world. No, it's not about abandoning the world, but it's not also like, let's create a golden calf out of Bugatti to worship. These extremist ideas, they are very, very foolish ideas, very shallow ideas. Really, we do want to make a difference. We want to have a change.
100%.
But there is a way, there is a focus, there is how you do it.
Yeah.
And the time, attention, skill, knowledge, valuing these human traits, these are the core that when we work and put this engine together to work, real intelligence, not artificial one, real intelligence, we have more intelligent solution. From the way we build the houses, to the way we grow the food, to the way we defend ourselves, to the way we cooperate, and so on. So this is what we are talking about.
Yeah.
This is what fascinates me. Imagining a different world, different kind of a setup.
Yeah. No, Jazakallah khair. I think that, Jazakallah khair for the whole conversation. But, you reminded us that the struggle of finance, the struggle with Riba, it's a spiritual one, and um, I think that was an amazing thing about like your response. It wasn't, oh, um, I just made more money, or I felt more barakah in my money. Like it's all so much more connected. I think that buzzing sound really, a lot of people have felt that, right? Like, oh, do you hear that sound? Like, it's so annoying. My head hurts. Like, make it stop. The comparison to that is a really good one. I'm thinking about it a lot. Like it really hits home, and I think it'll hit home for a lot of people. So jazakallah khair for that. And a reminder that, Allah has provided a path to like financial peace. It may be a longer one for some versus others, It may be the but why question might be a lot, like 50 times more for one person versus the other, but all of us sort of should make that progress, and we don't have to be slaves to the system built on interest, right? We can do something different. And I think that was a great reminder. So jazakallah khair for your time, jazakallah khair for all your insight. And if there's anything that you want to share or tell the people about where they can find you, what they can sign up for, or anything like that, please go ahead and do that right now if you'd like.
So first of all, thank you also for the invitation, to all of you for inviting me. always my pleasure to participate in these discussions, and we remind each other. And of course, if there is anybody who is struggling financially and they find themselves in difficulties, they should know that the life is such that whenever whatever situation you are in, it will pass. So if you have this struggle, it will pass. If you have a good time after that, that also will pass.
Mm.
And whatever comes after that will pass. So this will go up and down. This is life. So we should be people who anticipate the good and the time that are we not gonna like. So anticipate these times. The challenge for us as Muslims is not to debase ourselves, not to allow these things to become a fitna in our deen. Just because you have a fitna in your wealth or a health or relationships, you do not allow it to debase you, to remove your deen from you. And you be patient. You work through these kinds of things. So sometimes I say to the people, and this is something that took me a long time to understand, something that most of people will not believe me when I tell them, that sometimes and most often in life, the fitna of wealth might be the easiest one.
Mm.
At least you can do something about it. Believe me, believe me. I know in the moment, and we say that poverty is close to the kufr. It's true. Poverty can bring person out of the faith.
Yeah.
Just like extreme wealth can make them reckless and they feel independent.
Yeah.
So poverty can squeeze person and push that iman out of them because they become desperate. They become easy prey for Shaytan. But a lot of the time, you can do something about it. You can work, do. Of course, there are people who can't, and we have a charity and other zakat. We want to help those people who cannot help themselves. But a lot of the time, you could do something. It's a lot of the time, it's within you to work, and then Allah bless you with that. And, you are patient through that period. You don't lose yourself. You don't over become anxious,
Yeah.
but you keep yourself steady. Um, but with a lot of other things will happen. Happen to somebody that you love,
Yeah.
happen health, difficult fitna in somebody's deen that is close in, you or somebody. Then when you can just watch, it's very difficult. And that's why, when my mother tells me, until I, in my head, just calculate what's happening in every one of your life, of our brothers, and then in each of our families, and then to our own kids. Now I have a like until she goes through the day, what's happening and worries and who is doing it's, and you can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
So there are levels of this. You kind of graduate from the worries that you master them, you keep them in perspective. We are judged how we react to these things.
Yeah.
So react with faith. What would a believer do? React with faith, conviction. This will pass. Allah has never gonna overburden somebody beyond what they can handle.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we do push ourselves to extreme,
Yeah.
and we have to be mindful of these things. And so that is something, obviously go back to salah, your dua, you seek help also from the people, and the usual things that you would normally think about. But it's very important not to be overpowered. And that's another dua the Prophet ﷺ used to make, not to be overpowered by being heavy in debt, the one that is crushing
Mm.
you, and overpowered by people, by things that paralyze you.
Yeah.
So this is very dangerous. Psychological moment of debt and similar things is that they can paralyze person.
Yeah.
And so a person should be conscious. We will be tested. Anticipate these tests. Allah says, with the fear, loss of fruits of your work, labor, things that you love, we will be tested. So we try to work on that, connect ourselves with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I from time to time I put some videos online on YouTube, and we have a Muslim Money Matter platform where we talk about some of these issues, economics and finance, and people can find it on my website. And we try to empower young people to lead by creating businesses that are underpinned by our values.
Amazing.
because today the challenge in capitalism is the faithless valueless system that is creating the fake products that poison us, from food to the clothes to the ideas and education and entertainment. Everything is either poisoning your body or mind or your spirit.
Yeah.
And earth and environment. I mean, like, so we need people of conscience and faith and the principle to get into and start creating things, alternatives to this fake synthetic lifestyle and products that we are having. We want them to be successful, to be generous, to show the different way, lead on example, as we say usually, become a modern Yusuf alayhi salam, who has a foresight and can work today on the different way of solving the problems.
No, we definitely relate, at Halal Finance Hub. We try to share advice for more of a heart centered guidance. And as for the audience, we really want them to please do share this episode with everyone who feels more anxious or confused about riba. Share it with every student, every parent, every young professional, because I feel like that message also, what you're saying that you're building at Muslim Money Matters, we definitely align with that heavy here at Halal Finance Hub. So Jazakallah khair. And if you guys want to learn more, please go to the Muslim Money Matters website. I believe there's courses, there's an annual subscription for a lot of this, but then he also shares a lot of free content too. But Jazakallah khair, like, subscribe, share this episode with everyone, and we'll see you next time, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam.